Snow Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Renegade Rundown. James has just got here, but James, if you can hear me, for some reason when I click on your name, it's not letting me. There you go. James has just entered the studio. We've got Chris who's going to join us in just a few minutes. He's on a very important phone call. It's the 1 year anniversary of the Renegade Rundown. Um, let James figure out what he's got going on. I'll throw him back up here. But again, it's the Renegade Rundown, the 1 year anniversary. We had our first ever video podcast with James Coleman and Chris Frazier. It was actually the 12th. That was on a Monday, but here we are one day later on a Tuesday, a year later, all kind of great things going on. Back then I didn't have the amazing and beautiful Jen Santee as my co-host. That's at Jen Santee 1890. You can find her on X. I didn't have my good friend Deshaw Adams. We all got to meet and hang at the spring game this year. It was my second time meeting up with everybody and hanging out, so it was great meeting Deshaun. Great addition to the panel, and it's great to have Chris and James back here with us for the 1 year anniversary. We've just started prep for Georgia Tech, had our second practice. A lot of fun stuff to talk about as I try to bring James up. What's going on, James? How's it going, man?
Hey, what's man? How's everybody going? How's everybody doing?
What's up, James?
Good.
Doing good.
How was practice, man? Was it the namesake or was it Killa or what was going on? Or Trey?
Well, both of them play for the same part. Trey's actually a lot better than I thought he would be. I'm not that dad. Grandmama won the lottery by having an NFL player. Actually, too, my sister. A lot of people don't realize my sister was a scholarship track and field athlete at Florida State as well. I don't have delusions of grandeur, but I ain't gonna lie, my baby boy got some tools. And then now the little one, he don't know which way is up right now. He's still trying to look through the helmet, trying to figure out how to look through the helmet. But it's all good though.
I love to hear it, man. I love to hear it. I think Deshaun just got through with a little bit of practice and stuff. I got no kids, Jen's got 4 babies. We got 2 guys with kids in football. I just got the puppies, but it is what it is. I'll get there one day, but I'm surrounded by great family people, so maybe that should have rub off on me one day. But Florida State football is really, really starting to get going. 2 days into prep, like I said before. Let's start off with wide receivers, just because that's what everybody's so damn worried about. And the word I'm getting back, talking to different people, looking at the highlights, talking to all the, different people that I know, Malik Vinson's starting to really kind of be electric, be the guy, like true number one. Outside of that, we're still kind of trying to figure out the situation of who's going to be the best. We all know Elijah Moore stepped up. He's been really good. Kenshawn Portier's thing has always been consistency. I'm not there, so I don't know what his health was, but it was kind of like, reading between the lines, he wasn't consistently out there for camp, but it sounds like he's back making plays. Dalen Brown has steadily gotten more and more praise. But I guess we can start with James, since he's the kind of preeminent figure on actual playing experience, being able to see the practices with the most access. How are you feeling on wide receiver? Has it developed any since, I guess, the different shows and stuff you did last week? But just where are you at on that? Because I'm feeling pretty damn good. It's just like somebody's going to have to step up. I don't know who it's going to be, but there's enough talent there. One of them's going to do it.
Our fan base is part of it because of the media design. We're just so damn toxic, man. Like, they're not that bad. They're really good. They never have been that bad. They've always been pretty good. And I think they got the better of our defense today because they're doing more Georgia Tech prep. Georgia Tech doesn't run man coverage damn near 100% of the time. They're a zone-based team. So when you step back, you don't have these long guys that are running 4.4s just like you that have great hips and are able to match you. It becomes a little bit better. So you're going to see a little bit more success. You're also going to see more success as these pieces continue to get more reps together. They only had this. I mean, let's keep it in perspective. I think if they've had 30 practices since the spring, I mean, we might be right at it. So that's not a lot to be able to get the consistency to get what you want. But I mean, the flashes, the pieces are there. Confidence and competence are the 2 things that have to come together. As you get more confidence, you get more competent play. So guys will become more daring. I mean, I remember when Keon came in. Keon wasn't on the same page with everybody
Yep.
until he did get it. I like to encourage people. One thing about Facebook is Facebook has this thing called On This Day. You can literally go back and find out what you said on this day. What I encourage people to do is do that with our media. And I will promise you, for the last 3 to 4 years, you know what you're going to start reading? The same damn article with different names in different places. It's literally the same complaints, except for when we get to the season, we see that those things aren't the issue. Wide receivers were an issue in 2022. Drops were an issue in 2023. What we ended up having is one of the most potent offenses in the nation. So I think guys just got to kind of relax and let it play out, and just realize good versus good, and our good is no longer just average. Our good is on par with anybody in the nation.
Funny you said that, because I literally went back and watched the shows we did, this show we did last year, and then I went back to the spring stuff before Keon Coleman got here, and we were literally talking about Kentron Portier and Darion Williamson battling out for the second starting wide receiver spot. Like that, when you look at the wide receiver core without Keon and what Johnny became, like it's really just miles and miles, from where it came. So welcome in, Chris. We appreciate you joining the show. We might as well hit you with the next one. James talked about kind of, how we've got the guys, we don't have the dirty guys. You have to, confidence, where does it come from? Like, it comes from making plays. You have to have the opportunities. It's slowly been surely happening in practice. But it feels like to me, like for them to get that ultimate confidence needs to happen in the game. Whoever it may be, Portier, Lawayne McCoy, whoever it is that's going to step up. Maybe it's the Georgia Tech game that we see somebody come down with that catch and really have that confidence and become the next guy. Is there anybody in particular you think that will be? Or just, have you heard anything in particular about Benson or any of the other guys that get you, excited that thing will get firmed up as we get, into a couple weeks into the season?
I mean, I think Malik Benson is what he is, which is a good wide receiver. Will he be your true number one starting the season off? Sure. Will it stay that way? Not if Hakeem Williams does what he's supposed to. I mean, the conversation is pretty.
Oh, seemed to have lost.
Uh-oh.
We had the technical difficulty.
Froze up there. You might have to back out and come back in, Chris. But Deshaun, take off. How are you feeling? Who are you eyeing at wide receiver to take that next step?
To be honest, it's Benson, Hakeem. I'll speak to this, and I've said it. I actually said it in the chat today. Mike's first year as OC in Arizona, he had 6 players with over 300 yards receiving. His first year in Memphis, let's go to the year before. A player by the name of Anthony Miller had 694 yards and 5 touchdowns. His first year in Mike's offense, 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns. I say that to say this. You can have some concerns about the wide receiver core if you want to. I had a little bit, but I was never concerned. I think I spoke on it before about generating a passing attack. Mike has a knack for doing that. I can expect to see a lot of Lawrence Toafili in the passing game also. But as far as answering your question directly, of course, Benson, Hakeem, the usual names. I look out for another player like Jaylen Brown. What we're looking for and what it seems to be the recipe this year will be ground game, play action, short throws, quick game. All of those things may be a big part of the offense this year. I expect to see some things a lot different than what we've been accustomed to seeing over the last 4 years under Mike. I just speak to it that way. The passing game, we're going to generate yards regardless. It's just who's going to emerge as that guy. And typically Mike has at least 1,000-yard receiver or at least 800 yards, and then he'll generate the rest of the passing game through the tight ends and backs.
A ton of good points by Deshaun. I don't know what happened either, Chris. They're laughing at us in the chat. They said, we're getting serious tonight, baby. We got the 5-screen split. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe I'm not paying enough money to StreamYard or not. But if you wanted to pick off, we pretty much lost you at the first bit of your rant on wide receivers there.
I just think everybody's you haven't seen what Malik Benson is. You don't really know what Brown brings to the table. You don't know what Hakeem Williams is going to, what he has developed into. And that's based off of you haven't seen it in the game yet. But the way that I see it is based off of our DBs that were covering these guys in scrimmages. I don't think that there's going to be any team that we play that can cover our wide receivers as well as our DBs can. So it's almost going to make the wide receivers their game look easy, in my opinion, because of how much better our DBs are than especially when you play Georgia Tech. I'm not saying they have terrible DBs. I'm just saying they're not as good as Florida State. So it's a lot of people are going to, I don't know how to say the word exactly without knocking people, but they'll feel like, okay, we were completely wrong about the wide receiver room. But it's, what are you going to blame? What are you going to say? The reason is because you didn't know, or, wow, this is a surprise room. This is the biggest surprise of the season. I almost have figured out with fan bases, also with media, it's all about the drama behind it. Everybody's trying to create a story. I mean, even football teams are now. It's like we're trying to make football games or football seasons a drama reality show, and it's kind of irritating because it takes away from the sport to me. Like, if you want to watch reality TV, MTV exists, Bounce, all that shit's there. You want to watch that, fine, but using football teams or seasons or not, like I think even ESPN wanted it, or the other two conferences was not letting us in the playoffs. Like, you know how much money that generated by Florida State not getting in? That's what I went and decided I wanted to look up. But the amount of money they made for Florida State not making it, the amount of money that Twitter made alone for everybody talking about it, everything is about making more money. So the drama behind it makes it sell. So you're going to
probably caught some stray subscribers off of it, but I'd have much rather been in the freaking playoffs, Chris.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, man. It's everything happens for a reason. But I think, a lot of times we'll go all offense, all defense, but talking about the wide receivers brings up a great point. James is always reminding people that, like, look, we have 85 scholarships, but if you're playing your third string this, your third string that, you're in trouble. It's closer to an NFL roster. They have 53 players for a reason. It's 45, 50 guys. That's what you want to go into the season to get ready. We saw the Georgia writer put something out about that pretty much shows that Georgia's human, just like everybody else, trying to get their 45, 50 players. Well, when your defensive back coach comes out and says he's got 15 guys that he's confident to put up there against anybody in the country, 15 guys in your defensive backfield, I mean, that's a 30 or 45 guys right there. I mean, I know we play 5. That's almost half a defense, but yeah, pretty high words of praise for our guy Patrick Surtain Jr. And Jen hasn't got in a word yet, but I know she's hyped about a guy named Ricky Knight who's hit the ground running. I don't know if he's one of those 15 or not, but I know he's killing it. I know Kevin Knowles has been killing it. And we were lucky enough to have Zach Smith on Jen and Tiny Hat's show last night. He had some nice stuff to say about Patrick Surtain. What do you think about Patrick Surtain, how he's doing, and brag on him a little bit, and what you think about these DBs so far in camp?
For me, well, I love Pat Surtain, obviously. Look, I think that Florida State made a great hire, and I think they made a hire that was maybe a little outside the box, but you're talking about a man that really can connect with these kids and knows the position almost like no other. And we know how good he can develop a kid. Like, let's be for real. So, yes, of course I'm obsessed with Ricky Knight. Like, of course I am. I think he was so underrated as a recruit. I own t-shirts. I bought his merch. I've done the whole deal. Like, I don't even mind saying it. But look at AZ. Look at the other kids. Like, it's going to be a great unit. I am not concerned about that one at all. Like, I'm excited about it. I can't wait to watch. Like, seriously, I think we have, 11 days? Something like that?
I'm muted. Beginner stuff there. But Carter, there is a call-in number. That's a little bit later in the show. I promise we're going to get into Pawl Finebaum. We're going to get into recruiting. We're going to get everything. But just, work with us as we work our way there. But yeah, Pat Surtain is a beast. I thought the story Zach told about, the fact he could have had a job anywhere. He could have been a defensive back coach anywhere his son's senior year, because anybody would have given him a job to get that recruit. And also just because he had the best of both worlds. He is that guy. He is a beast of a coach. He does have the knowledge. He played in the NFL, all those things. But the fact he turned it all down, waited till his son was gone and established and set where he was going to be, to then pick a job, and decided Florida State was the place to go, and what he's done in 2 years has been amazing. But I don't want this podcast to last 6 hours. So, James, I know you've been to several practices. Where we're at now, just kind of let the people know we're not blowing smoke when we talk about how damn good these DBs are. When you talk about 15, 6 foot plus guys that are, probably going to end up half of them at least playing in the NFL, probably more than that. Is anybody in particular stuck out to you, or just the consistency of the group? What's it looking like? Is it looking like when you were going to games as a teenager living in Tallahassee again, or what?
I mean, I think it's the group. I mean, obviously your ones, Azaria and Cypress are really, really good, especially Cypress. You can see he's a lot more physical, a lot more comfortable in man coverage. But this battle for the slot between Earl Little, Kevin Knowles, Brown, it's kind of like there is no drop off on those guys like a rotate. Obviously, I believe I would go with Little as the starter right here. But man, these guys are really going in there and battling and having the right mindset. I'm coming in to give my brother a breather, but like if we go in and we don't have anybody giving up pass plays like we did last year, we're going to be fine. We're going to be more than fine. So I like that. And then again, their physicality, in particular at the safety room, but even at the corner, to be able to blitz from depth at any given time is just it's insane. Like you're not supposed to be able to do that. It's supposed to be short side of the field, blitz the corner, or walk up the safety, blitz them. You're not supposed to be able to blitz somebody from 15 yards deep at safety and be able to get to the QB. So, but it's again, I mentioned nobody's really mentioned it. Joseph, Edward Joseph has been balling. You said Ricky Knight's been balling. Charles Lester looks like a college student now. When he first came in, he looked like for 50 cents a day you can feed an African American kid or something like that. But right now he's definitely been hitting that training table, been lifting some weights, and you can see the skill. Again, I know I'm missing a lot of people, and that's not saying that these guys aren't playing well. It's just saying that there's a lot of talent back there.
Facts on top of facts, man. Kevin Knowles, mark my words, I put my neck out there. I talked a little bit of shit on Twitter, saying he's going to be the next Jerry Jones, the next Renardo Green, who played out of position for a year or whatever, just getting used to it. I think he's back at home at the nickel. You're hearing he's getting 3 or 4 interceptions. Everybody's freaking out. Well, who threw him? It just means we suck. No, Kevin Knowles is the baller. He reminds me of Nate Andrews that came in as a freshman, was a beast, got kind of shifted around, hurt here and there. But I think unlike him, Kevin's going to have a chance to really make some plays, and super excited. Those freshmen all so sore. You saw them in the first couple practices. That shit converting to muscle. Go ahead.
Man, like, guys, stop that shit. Interceptions are supposed to happen. Like, it's what better? Would you rather an interception happen in the game? Or would you, like, you're supposed to be pushing the envelope to see how things are going. Like, in particular, 7-on-7. You know how boring 7-on-7 is if you never throw the ball? So, like, you 7-on-7, the whole purpose is to throw the ball. So there'll be times when you throw interceptions. It doesn't mean that, like, you're going to go into a game and throw 25 interceptions, guys. Just relax.
So I try to keep this thing structured most of the time. I'm always over-analyzing and getting in my head. But, I look around. I've got 5 people in here. Every single person in here, hosts their own YouTube show. Jen has the roast. You've got Double D's talk about it. Of course, Spearatics and Jen Media Group. So I want to turn you guys loose a little bit. Chris is up next. If you wanted to ask a question to Deshaun or me or anybody, that's fine too. But we've hit the DBs and the wide receivers. What's the next thing on your mind? What's the rant you want to get off for the Renegade Report audience, Chris?
Well, it's no short list that came from anyone, because the DB room is full of talent, but the mouth, that's what I call him, which I think someone even said it in the chat. But Conrad Hussey might be the most talented athlete that's in the DB room, and y'all know the athletes that we have. So I think what Conrad Hussey's going to bring to the table this year from the safety position, He's just a big hitter. That's what he does. I think he's going to be big in the Georgia Tech game personally because they run a lot of goofy shit. So I think that Conrad he's going to pick that apart. This being game week where we're basically, getting ready to play against them, and we've got the black jerseys out and the imitation of what they pull and offensively, defensively, blah. But James made a good point earlier. We stated, that the wide receivers got the better of the defense today. Well, James has been talking about that and myself, but James had pointed out, I want to say months ago when we first brought it up, that he doesn't know what Georgia Tech's going to do because they run zone, and that is not going to do well against us. So I'm hoping that we show them what we're going to do to them if they stay in zone, but I think them coming up to play press man is just not their strong suit, so it might fare even worse for them. But I don't have a specific question for anyone, but it can go to anyone and everyone that wants to answer it. James and I talked about it last night on the show. Do y'all anticipate that Florida State wins by 2 or 3 scores against Georgia Tech?
Okay, Deshaun, what do you think about that?
I'll stick with what I've already stood on. I really believe it start out a little close, fill each other out a little bit. First game of the season. I think we'll kind of pull away by the third, maybe by about 2 scores. So I'm looking for no less, maybe about 13, 14 points.
Fair. Not exactly Darth Norvell, but I'm somewhere in there. I feel like it's going to be tight in the first half, kind of like that. And man, 2 or 3 or 4 touchdowns. It's hard. I don't want to be like, we're going to win by 60. And then you kind of jinx yourself, but we're past that, man. I think you just have a tight ball game. I think it's going to be up to Norvell whether we win by 3 or 4 touchdowns or we just win by 10, 13 points. My hope is that he takes that Darth Noel shit to heart, learn from the end of the year when we just did what we had to do and win. And I think he has. I think it's going to be style points, and who cares? Brett Key might be a nice guy, all that stuff. But so give me 3 to 4 touchdowns. I'll take that.
All right. Well, I'm going to say they win by 14, and I could go 17 if I wanted to be ugly without the jet lag. I'm sorry, guys. I don't believe in Georgia Tech's Indeed hired defensive coordinators or whatever it was they did with them last season. I think Georgia Tech's fine. I just think Florida State, I think DJU is going to be good. I'm sorry. I've got 14. Maybe I could go to 12 to be nice without being wrong. But yeah, I'm going to say 14. And if it wasn't for them having to fly across the pond and go over to stupid, whatever, I would say 17, to be fair.
I think we're 17 points better. I think we're three scores better than Georgia Tech. And what a lot of people just hear that, and that you can still have the same game that a lot of everybody's describing. Like you can be up 1 score. Heck, do you want to know how quick 3 scores can be and then evaporate? Just look at the FSU Miami game last year. We were up 14. We were up 14 until Kevin Knowles kind of bumps off Cypress. And if we would have got that stop right there, we drive down the score. That's a 3-touchdown game. In a game that was close because, again, I don't want to get into that shit, but it was close because we fucked up. That's why it was close. But I can see that happening, not because of Georgia Tech, because you're still working on chemistry issues. You're working on you're in another country. But you know what aggravates me to no end? But this is just when you're a box office gang and people like you, and they know you move the envelope. Is everybody's talking about the uncertainty in our offense? Like Georgia Tech is just walking back 11 of 11 starters on defense, and they don't have a new DC. And I like Brent Key. I think Brent Key's a good coach. But I think if we're gonna, as the young African American ladies say, if we're gonna be anything, let's be for real. And let's just go with that. If you believe we have more talent, which is you should believe we have more talent, and I get it. If you believe we have better coaches, Well, we have the reigning, if I remember correctly, did they give it to Mike or they gave it to Braun, the ACC Coach of the Year?
Oof. I know Mike won like 13 different Coach of the Year awards, but yeah, as far as the
go with that.
ACC one, I'm not sure.
I know both our coordinators were up for the Coordinator of the Year award trophy at one point. They gave it to one guy who our DC is the only person who stopped him. But I say these things to say that if you know all of these other things to be true, what makes you believe Florida State won't be prepared for this game? And I just think, I think because it's the first game, because they've had a month. Really, the other uncertainty part is they have a month to prepare, but what do they have a month to prepare for? Jordan Travis ain't tried out that tunnel.
Yeah.
So LSU and everybody else had 3 years of data that they can get on him. So I mean, that's just where I'm at when it comes to all this.
Very well said. Jeff Hill comes through with the $10 super chat. The OG member, he says, Georgia Tech ain't no juggernaut. Their offense is decent, but doesn't scare me. Their defense is not very good. I think we win by 14, and I'm being nice. It might be more. I'm right there with you, bro, and we appreciate that, man. Super, super love out there to Jeff Hill. He's been with us like pretty much since day one, dropping these super chats, buying memberships for everybody. Super cool stuff. I think from the little bit I've looked back at Georgia Tech, they've got to run the ball. They've got to run the ball. They've got to run the ball. And when you look at the offensive line and the defensive line here at Florida State, we can go there next. Let's talk about our defensive line against their offensive line. We just heard from Adam Fuller, I don't know if it was today or yesterday. He's 6 deep. He's got 6 guys at defensive tackle. A little bit less at defensive end. He said he's 4 deep where he's comfortable. That's kind of par for the course with how, they've kind of rotated snaps the last couple of years. Well, that gets us to 25 players they're comfortable with already as we kind of talk about the roster. But I just don't see how Georgia Tech will be able to do to us what they need to do. They need to be able to run the ball and wear you down to have a chance to do what they did to Miami in the fourth quarter. But, knock on wood, unless we have a couple injuries or this or that, and I think it's probably Chris's turn. How do you feel about that defensive line matchup versus their offensive line from everything we found out so far in camp?
I mean, I think Georgia Tech has a decent amount of production return on the offensive line. Plus, what they brought in it's decent, but I think that's going to be outside of the DBs on their wide receivers. Their biggest struggle is going to be their offensive line. On the defensive line is due to the fact of who's lined up. I think that the power up the middle from Farmer. I think Jackson's going to take the double team. I think they're going to try their best to keep hands on Pat Payton on the outside, but then they have to account for Marlon coming off the other edge. So I think that he's going to be looked at less than until he shows up in the game. And then they're kind of scrambling on who do we double team, what block scheme do we push? Because if we come off of so-and-so too fast, then he's going to get to the quarterback. If we come off of so-and-so too fast, they're going to be in the backfield with the running back. Because I think Georgia Tech has to establish a run against Florida State. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they can run the football against us. Maybe you can get enough time in the pocket for King to get some dump passes off, maybe some blown coverage or someone slipped or something to that nature. Could be a big play, but they can't. I don't think they're going to be able to play action with us. I don't think that they're going to be able to do a lot of the things that Georgia Tech wants to be able to do against Florida State. So, a big portion of that is because I think the defensive line is much better than their offensive line.
Mm-hmm. James, let's talk about Darrell Jackson, man. It's getting pretty ridiculous. From all the services, of course, the coaches are going to talk certain guys up, but they're talking about he's hit a gear that nobody's seen before. Like, we saw him in Miami. We saw the talent, the ability, but he missed a whole entire year. And when you're talking about defensive linemen, offensive linemen, that amount of development, like think about Darius Washington from 2022 to now, the development and the things that happened. I don't want to, blow it up too much, but everything I hear about the guy is just, he's an absolute freak. He's on all these different freak lists, from Bruce Feldman to Jim Nagy, making lists for NFL combine stuff. Is he the best defensive tackle in the country? Is that hyperbole? Is he one of the 5 best? Like, what kind of dude are we talking about?
I mean, He's very talented. He has a raw base, and even when he came out of high school, I mean, you're talking about a guy. Go watch The Climb. I think it was the episode with him and Farmer were really good. I think he's a guy who came off of like only a few years of high school ball. Like it wasn't like he's just always been a big kid, and now he's been able to be developed. What he's been able to do with the year in Storm system, I mean, he's always been impressive, but he's even bigger. But to be able to almost hit 21 miles per hour on the catapult system, as a guy who's gotten a chance to get very familiar with that this past summer, like that means you have to be able to get, like, he's a D tackle. He ain't going that far to be able to register that fast, and it only tracks 15 miles per hour. Like it doesn't, like anything less than 15 miles per hour, it considers that a non-active play. So for him to be able to hit that speed, like probably averaging 10 to 15 yards, means he's incredibly sudden, incredibly explosive, and at his weight and size, that's a little scary. And you've got two of them in Farmer, so like you've got to double team both of those guys, which gives you one-on-one matchups at your tackle positions. Mm-hmm. So I like my chances with Marvin Jones Jr., Patrick Payton, Turner, guys that we haven't really got a chance to mention a lot lately with those double team matchups. So Jackson, will he be? I think by the end of the year, people will know him and Farmer to both be two top 10 D tackles. Mm-hmm. Darrell Jackson being more of the interior guy, like your true nose, one technique, whereas Farmer is more of a three.
Mm-hmm. So just an FYI, we're just gonna play that Paul Finebaum and stuff after the trench talk. We're gonna let Jen, go off first on that. But first, I want to finish this trench talk. I love everything everybody said. I kind of agree. Just going off of what what Fuller said, from the most recent practice report. Deshaun, as far as the defensive line versus their offensive line, is there anything we haven't covered? Any thoughts? Is there any worries you have at all? And if you don't have anything there, we can move on to our offensive line versus their defensive line. Because I think, again, I just have a hard time believing they're going to be able to really hurt that offensive line we have.
No, I don't really have anything. I just say the only thing that's unique is Georgia Tech's offense and how they'll try to generate. It's almost like facing a triple option to an extent and trying to go horizontal, which I think our team speed is the fastest that we've been on defense since Norvell and Fuller have been there. So I think that will be negated by just overall team speed and flying to the ball. Outside of that, I think their line may hold up, like I said, first quarter, first half, but they'll be tired by the time we get to the third quarter, and we'll just take the game over.
Makes perfect sense to me. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, this one just kind of everybody. We'll kind of have a little conversation about it. Darius Washington, he's our left tackle. Maury Smith, he's the center. In my eyes, it's Jeremiah Byers at the right tackle, but Robert Scott, from what I'm hearing, maybe isn't laying down on that. There's a chance that he could end up starting. But really the guards, like we've got so many guards. I'm leaning towards Richie Leonard. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if it's Keandre Jones. I don't know if it's Terrence Ferguson. So before we get to Jen and the Paul Finebaum thing, just curious, we go around the room about, what do y'all think about the guards? And if you agree with me on Byers at tackle, I'm just curious. We can start with Chris and go all the way around on that.
I think he's on mute.
I think you're muted, buddy.
Are we asking who's going to start?
Yeah, as far as the two guards, you can address the right tackle as well. That one's really, I guess, could be up in there, but we know Washington and Maurice are starting. Who do you got on the rest of it?
I'm going to say that you're going to see different. You're going to see different rotations throughout. I can't really claim who's a starter because I think you literally will see 1 to 4 plays this section of gentlemen, and then the next 3 plays this section of gentlemen, and then a mixed match. It's just going to depend on what you want to do. When they brought Robert Scott in last year, and he played guard some, and he also played tackle some. When they brought him in, we ran the ball like 35% better. It was like that was the formation for it. It just depends on what we're doing. Like I think in play action we have a specific offensive line that runs it better. When we run the ball, specifically in between tackles, we have a line that does better. And I feel like I'm giving stuff away because then you're going to start seeing other teams pick up on it. But then they've started finding a way to mix match. Like we can do both extremely well with none of what they've seen. Like we've got the line completely mixed up compared to what they've seen previous games, previous whatever. But I don't know that Byers gets beat out this early. I think that you're going to see him quite often. I think that Rob's got work to do. Mainly start trusting his knee. He's got to trust himself first. Because Rob will play hurt. It has nothing to do with that. And James had made that statement. James, I hope I'm not taking this away from what you were going to say. But James had made that statement that Rob's got in practice. He had everybody beat like a brick wall, but he would just let him go by because he's not ready to. He's just not ready to take that on his leg yet. He doesn't trust it. It's a mindset. His leg's good. He just got to get his mind right.
The depth is to the level we finally don't have to make guys, play through like legitimate injuries. Maurice Smith is finally going to be able to take a game off if he has to. And also, James, like, to me, Keandre Jones, and Chris brought it up, like when he was in the game, he was mashing dudes. He felt like the one guy we could get in the game and run block and could just pancake guys. I feel like we have 3 or 4 guys this year like that. Am I wrong, or is that just, being a delusional FSU fan?
No, across the line. I mean, our top. I made this statement after watching the practice, the Sunday practice when I was in Tallahassee for the book bag drop. We can sign all the 5-star guys we want. They're not ready. Like they're not like even for the guys coming back. Like when you're looking at your Lucases, Lucas Simmons. You're looking at Atis, whatever the guys. You're like those guys are, even though they've been there, they've gotten a year bigger, and they're like impressive looking. It's like you're not. Solomon is big. Solomon's not a small kid. Petty wasn't a small kid per se, but they're not coming in there until they get a year at Miss Betty's, eating the good food up and getting in the lifting program. So when I look at Armella, I look at Otto, I look at, like I said, Simmons, even Jonathan Daniels, the progress that he's made since he's been there. I'm looking at these young guys, and I'm just like, man, damn, these guys can. And I'm gonna give you even again. I'm not saying these guys are going to be all ACC right away, but you've got guys that actually look the part. But you brought up Byers. From what I've seen, Byers hasn't looked bad. He's looked good. A lot of people. I think a lot of times we get caught up into who doesn't look like we want them to look, and we start picking on them. It's kind of like, again, it goes back to that defensive side of the ball where people talk about Fentrell Cypress. I mean, how can I say a DB sucks in a DB room that gave up 3 fucking pass touchdowns? Like the whole purpose of DBs is to not give up passing touchdowns. That's tough. And 2 of them came against Duck teams in just some kind of really weird plays. I'd say with Northern Alabama, when it was just a weird game in that first quarter. But going back, talk about this, but I've seen Otto. Otto's look really good at guard, and I don't really read a lot of the write-ups that everybody else puts out, but I haven't heard anybody talking about how Otto has been there, or at least he was there in Jacksonville. That's all I can speak of. Actually, he was there in Tallahassee when I was there. I haven't seen much of Ferguson, but Richie Leonard definitely has cemented himself as a guy who can play any 3 of the interior positions. But I think right now he'll be the left guard. And I think he's a wider body. He's agile. So when we're making the pulls will be a little bit better. But we also have a more patient running back. So I think, just again, the size also makes – all right, so you got gaps and stuff, and you can try to make the line take up as much space as you want to. But our O-line is so wide that, like, they basically take up the whole damn field what it looks like, as opposed to. And it was funny. It's 3 years ago today. 3 years ago today. I believe, no, maybe it was 4 years. Yeah, 2021, 4 years ago. I guess it'll be four. This is the fourth season since my son made the statement that embarrassed me, but also made me laugh. Dad, am I watching a high school team or am I watching a college team? And when they came here to Jacksonville, my son wasn't sure what he was looking at. But right now, we can sure as hell say that offensive line does not look like a bunch of high school kids.
Without a doubt. Before we get into Gargamel, and I'm gonna let we're gonna play his little shit. We're gonna let Jen go off on him. Deshaun, as far as the offensive line, I mean, they really hit a lot of great points there. Chris talked about the kind of hockey line change that we're gonna have. They literally have 8 to 10 senior dudes. It's a position to be in that's pretty amazing. Across the board, you talk to people, it's the best O-line in 10 years. When you look at it, how high do you think it can climb? Do you think we're looking at like a top 5, top 10 offensive line in the nation? Like, going to look at one that people are going to talk as possibly the best, or is that a little too high on the hopes list there, or how are you feeling?
Well, to be honest, they were damn near up for the award last year. I mean, and we were arguing and complaining. A lot of fans were complaining about the rotations and things, and they damn near were one of the better lines in the country last year. So I just stick to same script basically. Platoon style. You have linemen that can do a little bit of everything, and as James said, you got your pullers. You're gonna have your downhill style. I mean, you got a little bit of everything. So we're gonna be able to rotate, keep guys healthy and fresh. I think the rotational pieces that we have this year, or those who were there last year, were better. And then the additions of what we brought in through the portal, as well as the development of those underclassmen, man, I just think the sky's the limit for the line. I think it will be one of the top 5 to 10 lines in the country.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It just feels like our backups can do what our starters did 2 years ago. And maybe we had 6 guys or 7 guys we could truly trust last year, and now it's 10. Just across the board, I think it's better. But people have been asking about this, so we're going to play the sound. After that, I'll open up the phone lines. We'll keep talking about preparing for Georgia Tech. We might touch a little bit on the Josh Petty bullshit, but I can't ignore this, so we got to play it just so you can hear how absurd it is, the propaganda. It's pretty funny. Bud Elliott tweeted, does he know something we don't know? Because he only talks shit about teams that ESPN doesn't have their rights. And all of a sudden, now it's Florida State and Clemson, who, does he know something we don't know? I don't know. But let's just give this shit a listen.
Unranked. Florida State. First of all, they have no business being in the top 10. They have a difficult schedule. They have Florida State has Miami and Notre Dame within a 3-week period on the road. They end the season with Florida, which is a debatable team. But I think they're going to get caught in the run-of-the-mill ACC game this year, which they did not encounter last year. They lost the guts of their defense. They have a quarterback who has certainly been around and remains a question mark. And I think they also have a hangover. I think they used up too many tears crying about not getting in the playoffs, and that may slow them down a little bit this year.
It's crazy. Thoughts? Jen, how do you feel about that?
Let me see. It's surprising when Heather Dinich isn't the least attractive person on camera. That's number one. Number two is this man is such a loser. He has so much hate in his heart. He does this every chance he gets. Why? Because he gets clicks. And the only time he gets clicks is when he talks about Florida State, because nobody else takes this motherfucker seriously. No offense. He is so small, so tiny. Those who can't do, try to teach. Is that the words? Because he can't teach shit. He's an idiot. He never is right on his takes. Never. Actually, well, to be fair, the only take I've ever agreed with him on was about Deion, and we'll go into that later at some point, I'm sure. But he is such a loser, and he's so full of hate. If anybody doesn't remember, this man didn't even show up to ESPN the day after Florida State beat Auburn for the national championship, because he guaranteed Auburn would win by what, 14? Isn't that what he said? the next year he said Florida State shouldn't be in the championship game because with the Auburn team, they weren't tested, right? They weren't tested. The next year, they had too many close games. They were too tested. What the hell do you want, dude? Show me on the doll where Florida State hurt you. That's what I need to know. I need to know it. This man has Mike Norvell up in his ass, and it's embarrassing. I guess I would be grumpy and angry if I was, 4'9", bald with the biggest ears that could take off, help you fly. But he sucks. There is nobody that is worse than him except for Dan Walken or maybe Heather Dinich, as I said. But again, props to him or props to Heather that finally she was not the least unattractive person on camera. That's all I will say about that.
It's like a, Jerry Springer, AEW wrestling, SEC propaganda thing. It is what it is. It's got its thing. It's for SEC people, but the dude clearly has an axe to grind with FSU. He changes his shit up.
And the Notre Dame in there, they got tough games with Miami and Notre Dame. When's the last time Notre Dame won a big game? Let me know this. You know who they got blown out by last year? Louisville, who everyone told us beating Louisville by 2 scores was shit. Give me a fucking break. I'm out.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's like AEW wrestling, whatever. Just a joke. He's just a propagandist. There's nothing to it. He's just pure hatred and trying to talk shit. There's no context there for it. I'll let everybody else speak on it. I kind of lost my train of thought there. Chris, you're laughing. What do you think?
I mean,
somebody talk.
Everybody calls him Gargamel, whatever the fuck it is.
Gargamel.
Yeah.
From the Smurf.
I've called him Gollum for a long time off Lord of the Rings. For me to respond, I have to dial down. I have to become ignorant for a moment. I think he's mad because Nick Saban, his Moses, parted his hair like the Red Sea. And after Nick decided to retire, he never let it combine back together. And for him to even throw Florida in as even though they're a debatable team, they still have to play Florida at the end of the year. Okay, I'm not trying to talk bad about Florida, but y'all can blame Gollum for this. The last thing that Florida State needs to be worried about is Florida at the end of the season. I mean, he's having to look to the end of the season to look. This is the same thing that he did last year. Every time we were about to play somebody, the jig is up. Florida State's going to lose to this team. Oh, well, they're not going to beat this team. They've caught lightning in the bottle, but they're going to lose to this team. Look, and finally he said we're going to lose to Georgia when we had 20 some odd starters out. You say it long enough, it'll become true, and that's all he did all season long. I think that he has to be the most non-reppable, non-knowing, never done anything besides bitch person that he gets paid so much money to literally be an asshat. He has no other job. And the funny thing is, I don't get mad at Miami fans for not knowing what Florida State has. It's not their job. They're not supposed to know. But someone that gets paid millions of dollars by ESPN to cover the college football sport, for him to know so little about Florida State, or to see, there's that drama shit again that they want to keep bringing in. I think that they're going to be upset about they've spent too many tears on not getting into the playoffs last year. It's going to slow them down. No, see, we didn't wet our bed till we were 11. We don't cry about shit for 6 years. The guy he makes money because all of us are going to respond to it, I guess. I don't know. I think that I would love to have him just explain to me what's the difference in the I formation and a sweep. because I promise you it will completely stun him, and everybody should know there's not a difference. It's just the formation and how the movement happens. But he's one of those people that doesn't know.
You had me fucking thinking there. I was like, you got me stumped. 'Cause I don't know. I just thought that was a fucking out of the eye formation, something he did. So I'm glad you made that clear.
But if you ask him, because when I think it was Chris Carter from when he played with the Minnesota Vikings, which after he retired, he asked Paul a question, football related, and Paul completely just came. I don't know anything about the game formations. I don't understand the plays. I'm just here to, basically troll the entire system outside of the SEC, and I get paid for it. I don't really know anything. He said that with his own mouth. So for people to continue to take his takes for anything other than just bullshit, I don't know, man. I got much I could say, but this isn't my show, so I'm trying to stay as clean as
You're
possible.
good, man. Say it, man. I don't care.
I mean, one thing
we
I
don't
will
do
say,
politics,
Chris.
but we get pretty nasty on here when it comes to Paul Finebaum and assets
Yeah.
like that. Like Vince said it, he said it real well. The problem is, like, it's fine. We do the roast, and that's trolling, and that's fun.
Yeah.
But it's just entertainment. It's Jerry Springer, but people report on it like it's journalism.
Mhm.
These people that are supposed to be professional analysts covering the sport are retweeting it. Oh, well, Finebaum says Big 12. Finebaum says no SEC invite. Finebaum says, and you add that part of the tears. Like, oh my gosh. Y'all can talk about it. James, Deshaun, y'all haven't got a chance, so go ahead.
Hang on, I wanted one more thing.
There.
I just had one more thing to say. One more. I'm sorry. But Paul Finebaum said Jameis Winston was the worst quarterback he's seen after that Florida State was never going to win anything. Jameis Winston was too young. He couldn't throw. He couldn't do anything. Let's all remember that. Let's just keep that 100.
Wow. That's crazy. Jameis Winston all he did in his first game was not let a ball hit the ground. That's still one of the most impressive first starts that I've ever seen. It's one of those things I was going to talk about on tomorrow's show with a little bit more fun and more picking on him. But, Paul is Paul. I think the best retort was when Lane Kiffin just said, "What are you good at? Are you good at anything? Like, what are you good at?" And I think that's really where you got to see where a lot of guys in this industry aren't worth their salt. Mm-hmm. They have very strong opinions behind a camera and with thumbs, but when they're actually questioned and tested, it's never the same energy. And I mean, it's in our family, it's in our media as well as other things, but it's just the nature of the business. And it's frustrating when you're a guy who's self-made and, you're like, damn, if that's all I got to do is just say some random shit and I can get more people maybe listening to me, or if I do these things. But, like, it's just, I think you hit the head on the head. Like, ESPN, and I'm not going to be one of those people who calls the woke mess agenda and all that other stuff, but it has long not been about reporting and been about barbershop conversations and echo chambers. And what they're going to do is they're going to hit whatever the hot button topics are, and they know that's going to drive revenue, good or bad. The reality is just kind of like this. And, whether you think Michael Jordan is the greatest or not, I don't really care. But ESPN has had the benefit of having LeBron James be there for over 20-something years. And all they did was talk about how LeBron James isn't the greatest, whereas you've got one of the greatest that's ever played this game, and you didn't even get a chance to highlight it. Every show has been about what he's not doing, which I think is a waste of having a generational talent. I think when you have teams like, even with his assessment, notice he brought Miami and brought up Florida. We can lose to Miami and Florida and still be in the college football playoff. I don't think we lose to Miami, but the only thing you have to do is win the ACC. Like, to me, even a better assessment would be saying they play Clemson and they have an SMU team that's very much so improved, that won, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they won 11 games last year. Their 3 losses, though, came to Power 5 teams, but one of them being Boston College. But that's neither here nor there. But they will be much improved. A Memphis team that's coming off of 10 wins with the emotion. Like, those are the things that I would more expect somebody who is giving a real detailed look at our schedule, as opposed to just saying our schedule's hard and then bring up games in November, which history has proven neither one of those teams have been very strong in November in the last 20 damn years. So I guess really Paul knew, how do I get these clicks up? How do I get relevant? Let me throw this rock at this hornet's nest that is Florida State fan base and get them riled up. And, you know, it had its effect. We're an easy target. But I will say this, and maybe y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, I've yet to hear a player bitch about last season. All they focused on is this season. So if your assessment of Florida State, the football program, is not based upon what you heard Mike Norvell, other coaches, or other players say in the media, then all you are is what my favorite president, Teddy Roosevelt, says, all you are is a muckraker.
Mm-hmm.
And you're catering to the lowest common denominator. But that's where, you know, again, that's where not just ESPN, that's where a lot of media is at right now. They know what's going to get clicks. They know what's going to turn the base, and that's where they write the articles with. And I you know, as a capitalist, I applaud them for it. I just can't do it, so I judge it.
Yeah.
Very well said. Go ahead, Deshaun, and then I know we've already passed Chris, but we'll go back around. I think he's got another bomb to drop. He's steeled his nerves and said, fuck it. He's going to say what he wants to say. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Deshaun.
I just say when the turn of the century happened and we walked into the 21st century, good journalism died with it, especially sports journalism. I can remember hearing Pawl before he even got a job at ESPN when he was on AM radio with the local yokels, basically, just stirring up the pot for the SEC. And that's basically what he is. He's nothing more than a shock jock. He's Howard Stern. He's whoever you can name it. He's those kind of guys. He doesn't have any reputable things to say because he never really played a lot of I don't think he even played the sport that he covers. He just covers the conference, the SEC conference. He's a puppet. As James would say, he's a petite male. He's actually a very small, frail little man. I really don't have anything. I really don't watch the show. I can't stand him. But I get it. Like you said, James, I get what the thing is. It's what journalism is today. Is stir up the pot because you're going to get likes. Good, all publicity, even bad publicity is good publicity. So he's using that as a tool just to generate interest. And it is what it is. He's a scientist and he's a genius in that. But, I mean, he's an asshole too. And I don't really take him serious. So that's all I have to say about it.
So with Paul Finebaum, I can prove that men get paid more than women. I know y'all don't like politics, and I'm not trying to make it political. But Paul Finebaum does for the SEC what Monica Lewinsky did for Bill Clinton. That is Paul Finebaum summed up in very few words. He is nothing more than a higher paid Monica Lewinsky. And unfortunately, he is a lot uglier, but the SEC don't look under the desk any damn way.
Well, you got to be able to relate to that guy to call up and do all that bullshit nonsense they have on their show. It's like, you know, the guy from my neck of the woods that poisoned the Auburn trees, like, you know, it was all, you know, from that show. It's just a joke. I hate that we had to bring it up, but we had to let everybody kind of rip his ass. The comment about the tears and stuff. I got that thing bookmarked. I can't wait for us to, you know, make the playoff and something terrible happens to the SEC teams that he predicts. And I just want to run that on repeat from his tears because, you know, he's going to be crying. And everything he said sounds like he's proud and he's this and that. But that's all that is. That's just him crying. And again, guys, we appreciate everybody. Thanks to Jeff, he came back and bought 5 memberships, so 5 y'all got lucky. We've got our first caller right here. Callers,
before the caller comes on.
So those guys are the ones that get directly on the show. We try to get to the chats, but I think this might be Tiny Hat. Is that you?
Hold on, can I get into this real quick?
Oh, hold up 1 second. Let's James get this off real quick, and then we'll go to you, Tiny Hat. Go ahead.
I just gotta get this on my spirit, man. Fuck Paul. Fuck Josh Pate. JD Piquel, and that sassy ass motherfucker from Oklahoma or whatever his name is. I don't want the community. It's only one group of people I'm terrified of, and that's the community. I don't want no smoke with the community. I know he's a part of that community, but it's not FU to the community, to LGBTQTCBYs. I'm an ally. I like lesbians. But that guy, fuck him. Like, I agree. I don't like any of those guys. And I don't think there's any way we can reconcile that. Carl Reed, I'm in a group chat with Carl, so I kind of understand where Carl's coming from now with some things. But the mother cats, I like them to take a long walk off a short pier.
Facts. Carl Reed. He brought up Carl Reed. Joel Klatt's another one that's got Miami going undefeated or 11-1. But all right, Tiny Hat, go ahead and get your rant off, bro.
Oh, yes. The Tiny Hat CEO has returned to the Renegade Rundown. What is up, people? I see we got a whole panel up here. We are all up here enjoying ourselves. And I just heard what was going on over here, and I wanted to jump in on the round table. All right, one thing that I heard somebody say was that Pawl Finebaum is an asshole. Nah, you giving him entirely too much credit. Pawl Finebaum is the asshole that has been getting pounded left and right. He ain't got nothing good going for himself, okay? He already told Phyllis she going off the map. Rest in peace, Phyllis. You doing the Lord's work now. All right, but now that Saban gone, he ain't got no juice no more. The only juice he had was the juice that he was slobbing out of Nick Saban's wood when he was out here in these streets. Okay, Pawl Finebaum can't do nothing anymore. All he can do is run his mouth about the greatness and the royalty that is Florida State. All right, that's all he can do. Pawl Finebaum is nothing more than the gimp from Pulp Fiction. That's what he is. He needs to go ahead and wrap his ass up in that latex. Go ahead and zip that all the way up to the top, and then I can look him in his face and say, hey, what does Florida State look like? What does Florida State look like? Do we look like a bitch? Do we look like a bitch? No. So you need to go ahead and shut your ass up and keep our name out your mouth, Pawl Finebaum. Okay? Because the last time I heard anything about Pawl Finebaum, he was bumping his gums about us. But we can go all the way back. Didn't he write a book saying he got 303 reasons why he hates Florida State? That was his whole gimmick. I got 303 reasons why I hate this college football team and that college football team. Well, you know what? You've been taking 303 strokes from the SEC all this time. All right? His asshole is wider than Jenna Jameson's at this point. Sit your behind down if you can sit down, and you need to keep our names out your mouth. All right? We gonna walk up there. Listen, the next time I see Pawl Finebaum, he gonna catch this Will Smith treatment. Keep my team's name out your fucking mouth. All right? I'm sick of hearing about Pawl Finebaum, him and his raggedy ass glasses. That dude is all of 4'9". That dude looks like an emaciated version of the Paul Bearer that used to walk the Undertaker down when he was going in the whole time. He needs to shut his ass up. All right, he's been hanging around the wrong people, and he's kicking the nest. Somebody said a hornet's nest. He kicking the nest right now that's gonna come out with nothing but spears ready to dag on his ass. All right, so I don't want to hear nothing about Pawl Finebaum no more. I don't want to hear about Klatt. I don't want to hear about Pate. I don't want to hear about none of these people. All right, all of y'all can shut the hell up. And when games get played, they gonna do just like they did all last season, all 2014, all 2013. They're going to have to shut their asses up and watch as Florida State rises above the bullshit that they're trying to drag us down into. All right? Tiny Hat Gang, we out. Hold on, baby.
Man, yeah, you're not recovering from that, Finebaum. I'm sorry. Guys, I'm not saying anybody can't talk about it, but we've covered that pretty good. I think you put a good period on it. Again, the numbers up there, Super Chats, they get first priority, but we'll try to answer any questions we have. There's just not enough time to go over everything, but we've talked a little bit of trenches. We've talked a little wide receiver and DB. That leaves tight end, a little bit of linebacker, a couple things we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about the Josh Petty situation, so let's go ahead and address that really quick. A lot of us thought he was a lock, thought Florida State had it. You know, there is no such thing as a lock in this day and age. But, you know, a lot of predictions. I thought he was going to be a null up until a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We start to hear about the love of the engineering program and things not necessarily going our ways. Sure enough, he's committed to Georgia Tech. And, you know, it's the end of the world. We're right back to where we were before the season and a couple months ago before July got here, to where we can't recruit, yada, yada. Even though we already have enough guys to where we have enough recruits as it is that we could sign 24 guys and still have 50% blue chip ratio. So if you think the next 10 guys we sign are going to be all 3 stars, I don't know what the fuck you're smoking, drinking, We've got the best pair of offensive linemen in Florida State history, for Christ's sake. In history. Never had two guys this highly rated at the same time as the recruiting rankings. So, yeah, I'm fine on it. I don't know who they're going to get. I think you mentioned on your show, Chris, it could be a flip. It doesn't have to be. A lot of these offensive tackles are locked in. Like, there's not one that you can just go jump on. They pretty much all have their leader and things of that nature. But people act like Florida State can't flip nobody. Nope. Actually, we can. So I just wanted to give whoever wants to speak on that. I guess I can't remember who went last or who's up. But, Chris, do you want to go next? And then we can go around from there.
Well, I think it's funny because there's specific people saying that I told people that Sanders was a lock. I haven't talked about Sanders in 6 months. Never said he was a lock. I stated that he was visiting. So to make sure that I wasn't lying, I went back and watched the show where I talked about Sanders. And I said nothing about him being a lock or that he was coming to Florida State. Did I say Petty was coming to Florida State? Yes. Do I think Petty still ends up at Florida State? Well, it's either him or Haywood. Don't know which one, but I think one of them flips to Florida State. The last time I checked, it's August. December is 4 months away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And then I get a text message from the person that says, just tell me you're not going to pay the bet. It's almost time to pay the bet. It's literally at the halfway point. Okay. You don't have to worry about me paying the bet. If I lose, I lose. But I have to lose first. So I don't know, man. Like, I think that Florida State's going to be fine. Here's the funniest part. Florida State signs 2 3-star offensive linemen that haven't been taken yet. Not saying that they will, but if they do, go do the numbers. So all you got to do is everybody's board, put the 2 offensive linemen that they have, and then add 2 3-stars, and find out where the number goes. With everybody else, add everybody else's offensive line commits as they are. Find out where that goes. And I don't know what people are trying to prove. And this person says they're right about everything. Jeremiah Smith, KJ Bolden, wrong about both of them. You told us this year that Solomon was decommitting 2 months ago. That also didn't happen. So you state that you post nothing but 100% facts. The only thing that's factual is you're no more than a troll, and you do know a little bit more than Paul Finebaum. That's the only facts that I've got for you. And no, I don't respond to him on text messages. I don't respond to him on Twitter because I'm not a premature ejaculator. I don't prematurely go around squirting people in the face because something went my way. And it's cool. James can help you with that. I used to be called Alpha Male at Jax, but I also could help you out in other ways as far as medically goes. So might want to get that fixed before you start doing that in public, because it's become very dangerous to be that person. So you can troll me all you want. You're not gonna get a response out of me. So and if you do win, you'll receive $2,500 and there will be no response to it.
When you tweet nothing but negative stuff for 4 months, all about negative, all these different things, and one finally happens, like, yeah, that's really easy. It's a lot easier than doing that, than predicting. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe he figured out predicting and wasn't, because he was wrong a couple of times. It wasn't the way to go or whatever. But yeah, I'm not worried. I'm totally fine. James, Deshawn, what do y'all think?
James, got anything? All right. I'll speak. Okay, go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, I just, like I said, recruiting is recruiting. I think personally, if you look at, we just talked, the guys I talked about Julie, especially on offensive line in particular. I just told you that none of those guys are playing next year. If they got to play in 2025, we're in a bad spot anyway. But I'm looking at the high school recruitment is raising the floor. And that's what's wild about all of this stuff. So if we just bring in this class, which I personally don't think is enough, you got to bring in more than that. But if we bring in, let's say we bring in 20 kids, and you sign 10 transfer portal guys, I think I'd rather sign 10 transfer portal guys over 10 just 3-stars for 3-star sake. Now, there's some 3-stars like I'll take, after seeing Randy's guys in practice. I know nobody wants to hear this shit. I'm cool with Randy taking guys that he likes. They're recruiting body types that they like and that they can develop on film. So if that's the case, give me that. I'll take that all day. Next year, we're going to need wide receivers that can come in day one and play. So we may got to go in the portal for a guy like that. Go in the portal, find you another tight end. Go in the portal, maybe find you a DB that can help you immediately, some D tackles. Have no problem with that because there's some needs that we have that have to be addressed. Like the D tackle has to be addressed. Mm-hmm. And it would have been this year, it would have been addressed with 2 good D tackle recruits. And if you bring me 2 good portal guys, the goal is to win football games. And I think at this point, if we bring in another 10-win season, one would have to be out of his mind to continue to argue with the facts that Mike Norvell has actually laid out in front of you. And knowing Mike is so cool, Mike is so real. He's one of those guys that if it's straight facts, he ain't got no problem with you. But if it becomes just a little bit more personal than what a lot of this stuff is. And I think again it comes down to the big 3 is unique to everybody else's because the big 3, at least in the last 10 or so years that maybe I've been involved in it, is really about the troll. And it's not about – that's why I can't get on Paul Finebaum too much because some of us are Paul Finebaums to our own fan base and to other fan bases. So we got to – some of y'all is ugly. Some of y'all ugly. Not you, Jim. Wait a minute. You don't have Paul Finebaum's ears, or you got them covered with your hair. I'm not 1,000% sure.
Maybe I can bring them out.
but some guys are ugly and their takes are ugly as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Sean got ugly takes. I know that.
I'm not pointing at anybody in particular, but the way my gift to myself at 40 is I'm a shoe fits wear it guy. If anybody who felt like that, man, that's cool. Just go ahead and wear that. I was talking about you, but I wasn't speaking to anybody in particular.
Well, for me, I speak personally to myself. I've been following recruiting since I was a teenager, and I've never been an astronomer. I'll say it. I don't give a fuck about stars. I've always been about fit and film, how they fit into your system. And I'll give credit to a Texas fan that I heard in the spaces today speaking on Norvell. And he kind of compared him somewhat to Browse as far as his coaching. He's going to recruit what fits his scheme to a glove. And that's just, he's not going to come off that damn hill. He's going to stay there and he finds the right players that fits what he wants, the culture. So it is what it is. I'm confident that we'll find the right replacements if we don't flip, and we'll have other prospects. It is what it is in that area. I trust the process, as we used to say 10 years ago, There's always room for some concern. You like to see certain things personally, get better. But, hey, proof's in the pudding. I mean, we won how many games over the last 2 years? We watched each year. We've added a game or more games each year. And we got tangible evidence that whatever they're doing is working. So why continue to butt our head against the wall, crying over spilt milk and a bunch of, as James would say, 17-year-old little boys?
Yep, the transfer portal allows you, instead of having to rely on freshmen when guys leave, to bring experienced guys in. And what I talk about that doesn't get talked about at all is expunging the bottom 30 of your roster every year. And that's something that Mike Norvell the past 3 years has done. He brings in a top 10 portal class, and 20 to 30 guys are gone. 20 to 30 guys that it just wasn't going to work out. I'm very curious to see what that looks like after this season, because I don't think there's near enough people that are going to hit the bricks or just don't possibly have a way to make it up. So it's evolving. Like, that percentage is going to go back and forth. But for whatever reason, people just don't want to address it. They just want to look at, okay, here's your 4-year high school. It's crazy. Like, portal, some guys are one and done, but the large majority are 2-3 year guys. And yeah, it's unbelievable to the level it's stacked up. They can only ignore it for so long. Like, we saw Michigan and Washington both similar. And now you've got us, you've got Ole Miss. Right now, they just put it to, you've got a bunch of seniors, so we're going to give you credit. they're not going to give the consistency that Ole Miss or Florida State has used the portal for their ranking. It's just you just happen to have all these seniors that just came out of thin air. But I just like with our D line especially, people are so scared to get hyped about these guys. But dude, just go down the line. Of the 10 guys he brought in, 2 have been first rounders, a couple later rounders. We've got guys that are going to be first rounders this year. It's like it's all going to be good. We may not quite be Georgia yet, but by 2026, I bet you we will be. 2027, we're going to be fighting for the top spot in all college football. And that's not to say we won't have the chance to win it this year or next year. Jen, anything on your mind we haven't covered yet? Anything before we move around?
If I want to say something about Josh Petty, I didn't buy into that he was going to Florida State. I was wrong on the fact that I thought he was going to go to Stanford. Honestly, I thought a kid that was into academics, wanted to fulfill his career, would go to Stanford with that offer, and that's kind of where I thought he was going to go. I do not, nobody can tell me, look, Stanford has the political connections, the billionaire connections, all the things. If that's what he wanted to do was progress his academic career, Stanford was the get. So no, I believe Chris on the Haywood thing. I think he's more likely to flip than Petty is at this point. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I don't even think the coaching staff made a bad error. I don't think that kid was being serious every time he interviewed, every time he talked. I think he was Georgia Tech all the way, but I was wrong about the Stanford thing. I will admit to it. That's all I wanted to say.
No, I hear you, but you were on the right track. Academics ultimately won out. I didn't see that message till it was too late. But Chris had to run. We're already at an hour and 17 minutes. I'm surprised James and Chris were here this long. James, we appreciate you for joining. Make sure you get over to Spearatics. I'm pretty sure everybody in here is already subscribed, but it's usually 60% unsubscribed people watching this. So, guys, subscribe to the Renegade Report. And if you're not already subscribed to Spearatics, get over there and do that. Make sure you're subscribed to Den Media Group, our guy James's channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Double D's Let's Talk About It. Deshaw,
or pay for the memberships, please.
Yeah, also paid memberships, and we're going to be doing a lot more fun stuff with that. I'm thinking about maybe doing some like live stream alongs with the games for members only, to where we can just talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about, because it's not going to be public. And instead of listening to those dumbass ESPN announcers, we can just talk our own shit. So that's something I'm looking to do for games. So look forward to that. We're going to start doing giveaways and stuff once I'm in a little bit better position to do that for you guys. James, is there anything on your mind before we get out of here? Is there anything in particular? I think we haven't really talked about linebackers and tight ends. Is about the only thing in running.
Season's 13 days away. We'll see all this stuff. All the speculations coming to an end. I would just like to tell you, anybody needs something good to listen to on your way to work or at work, just maybe listen to it on low. Unless you have your own office, but Big Games BS will be on at 9:30 in the morning tomorrow.
I do it every morning.
That we're going to be hazing. Excuse me, hazing is illegal. We'll be doing. He'll be learning valuable insight on the way leadership and mentorship goes inside the Den Media Group. Good kid though, so we'll be doing that. We'll be talking about Pawl Finebaum. We'll be talking about the fine women in the Olympics. We'll be talking about FSU's rankings, a whole bunch of other BS. And then if you want to curb the conversation, you can always do the super chat or become a member. So we are 3,980 away from giving away a pair of season tickets and a lot of money. So if we get to 10,000 before football season, I will give away a pair of FSU season tickets and a parking pass. So there'll be good seats. But even if we don't get to it, the Wednesday before every home game, we do give away a pair of tickets. So if you don't have tickets to the Boston College game, stay tuned for that. And we will be having a big tailgate. Also, like I always tell people, membership has its perks. So if you need hotel hookups, I was looking at something. The North Carolina game is ridiculous. Like $800, $900 a night with a 2-night minimum. I refuse to pay that kind of price anywhere in Tallahassee. But luckily, if you're a member of Den Media Group, you don't have to. So just holler at me. And as always, go Noles.
Go Noles.
That's it.
Hey, so
Beautiful.
quick question, Jane. Oh wait, he left. I was wondering if he was going to discuss the amazing women in the Olympics that were breakdancing. Because did anybody see that bullshit?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely got into all that on the show. If you haven't,
Yeah.
Oh
you
my
haven't been
god.
watching, he's been hilarious for sure.
He discussed it on the show yesterday morning. Yeah.
The kangaroo hops sent me. The kangaroo hop. I was like, what am I watching? I couldn't believe it.
I'm trying to think of the words to describe it. It's just, it's like
Bad.
it's a parody. It's something you see in a movie, and it's like she's the face. She's the chick from Superstar.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the chick looked like. She looked like the chick from Superstar, and she was out there doing a parody, like an interpretive dance. But that's literally what she was doing. And it's like somebody high up in the Australian government came out and they were like, it was so mean, the bullying. I met her 20 years ago. She was in her room crying because she wasn't allowed to dance and compete with everybody else. But the lady fucking came out and said, oh, I don't ever practice or compete or anything. I just, like to think that I like to do it. It's like, what? How could you be breakdancing for 15 years and be that bad? You can't. It's not possible. Like, it was literally, you could tell she'd never done it, maybe like whatever, a couple times. She went out there. It's this is how you know it's hip hop chick from the 80s with the spandex. The old
Did
white
you
lady with false
see
teeth. Like,
what
is
her
up?
her college degree is what is the most embarrassing part of all of it, right? Her college degree, her thesis was gender norms in breakdancing. I don't know what her parents do for a living, but I can promise you right now, if I'm paying $100,000 a year for my child to go to fucking college, if they come home with that bullshit, I'm out. I'm sorry, and you're going to pay me back. And you better emancipate yourself, because I'm not leaving you anything either. This is such crap. I mean, oh my God. The bunny hop or the kangaroo hop, whatever it was. And then she's like, well, I have this degree in gender studies in breakdancing. How is that a thing? Explain this to me.
It's insulting, Jen. It's actually insulting to the culture and understanding growing up as a kid and the breakdancing culture as a kid in the 80s. As a little kid, it's insulting to those women who actually are B-boys and B-girls and actually performing it. I'm not going to go into that realm, but just talking on that subject, I don't understand how she conned the whole Australian government out of millions of dollars to send her ass to Paris. And it's insulting to the rest of those athletes, because you have to be athletic to do that, who actually participate in that event. It's just stupid.
One of the most insulting part was some of the judges coming out saying, why are y'all criticizing her? Why are you criticizing us for criticizing her? Y'all are the one who gave her 0 points.
Yeah.
Shut the hell up. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. She was terrible. That's why we're criticizing her. She embarrassed her country. She was so cringe. And the whole, the internet shut down after that. And then you want to come out and say, oh, well, stop criticizing her. You didn't give her a point. I don't think you get to judge us. Thank you.
Yeah, here's the issue. It's the Olympics. It's supposed to be a meritocracy. It's supposed to be the best amateurs. Some sports, they allow pros just because it got to where there weren't enough amateurs. But it's supposed to be the best. Yes. You know them motherfuckers. They didn't line up and have tryouts, because there's 9-10-year-olds out there in gymnastics that could have, not even knowing how to break, could have done some things athletically to make it. This bitch watched Stomp the Yard the night before the Olympics and went out there and tried to copy the fucking movie.
That's a good one.
Who we got here? You're live on the Renegade Report Rundown. Go ahead and get your take off as we're reaching the end of this thing. Maybe we got another 5 minutes left. Go ahead.
Oh yes, I'm back in this one. I just wanted to let y'all know that I was able to reach out to the Tiny Hat FBI squad, and I found out that Australian breakdancer was so sad because she actually got her dance moves from Pawl Finebaum. That is actually the mating dance that he does whenever he is about to go into the room with one of these SEC coaches, and he wants them to. That's what he has to do, so he can toot it up high for them. That way they can go ahead and get along. Okay, I wanted to apologize to Jenna Jameson because I said that Paul Finebaum's asshole was as wide as hers. It's not. His asshole is the side of Meek Mills right now. All right, we have that is what he's got going on. So once again, to that Australian breakdancer, it's not your fault, baby. That's what you get for listening to Paul Finebaum. All right, don't nobody follow what he's doing, and that's what you get. You don't know how America works, and you came out here and got some wrong information, just like from people like Paul Finebaum who don't do nothing but spread that disinformation. So next time you go up there, go find one of the Jabberwockies. Go dance with one of them. Learn from one of them out here. Stay away from the mating rituals of ESPN asshole cucks out here in these streets. Tiny Hat Gang, we out.
Wow.
Very timely with that. Very nice.
Wow. That was wow.
Guys, we got time for maybe one more call. I'm gonna call this thing. We'll call it an hour and a half. Even show knocked off. We didn't really get into linebackers and tight end, but I do want to shout out Kyle Morlock. He's going to be a weapon. Sounds like DJU is really like developing a relationship there. One of the guys he's really close with and feels comfortable throwing the ball. We heard a little bit of issues of drops and concentration and things of that nature, but the reports are getting better and better and more consistent. And he looks like that guy at tight end, along with the young guys, Amari Williams, Landon Thomas getting back to being healthy. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm not worried at all. You add in guys like Brian Courtney, they're going to be able to help the blocking scheme and things of that nature. I think we're going to be just fine there. And we've got so many running backs, so many different offensive linemen that you're going to be able to bring in as a tight end when you need an extra blocker and things of that nature. I think we're going to be just fine there. We're in a situation that's not going to bother us. I think linebacker, DJ Lundy is going to be the man. And, while he's the only truly locked in guy, I think between Sean Murphy,
Juice Cryer,
Cam Riley, all those guys, I think, one guy's going to step out. I still think we're going to be in a damn good spot. It's hard to predict an improvement. I don't think that happens. I think you see, maybe some misses here. Maybe we give up a couple plays, but the secondary will clean it up. It's not going to be that big of an issue. But we're going to see a little bit more blitzing. Even though they sent Kalen DeLoach and Tatum Bethune quite a bit, it's going to be fun seeing the different bodies. Murphy, Cam Riley doing different kind of blitz schemes, and they're going to put them in a position to win. We don't have those guys from last year, but they're not going to put them in the same position they were putting those guys last year. They're going to work with them, so I'm not that worried. Deshaun, anything on your mind you want to cover before we call it a day?
Yeah, I'll add one more thing to the whole Georgia Tech game. The defensive coordinator for Georgia Tech came from Duke. And if you know that he comes off the same tree that Adam Fuller. So what we're going to see defensively from Georgia Tech is nothing that we haven't already seen with Duke. And Fuller has a lot of familiarity with the system. So that means Norvell, they know what they're coming up against. It's going to be, I would actually add an extra 3 to 6 points on that game because I had to think about it when I found out about the DC. I was like, wait a minute, we faced this guy before and he comes off the same tree. So we're basically facing a similar style of play. Just not with the same athlete. So yeah, I'll add 6 points added to that. I'm looking at about 20-point win.
Let the folks know where they can find your YouTube page and what you got going on, bro.
Yeah, y'all can find us at Double D's Let's Talk Ball podcast. We actually dropped the show 5:00 yesterday where we were talking about some camp things we're going to get back on this week. And also D's Corner, DSCORNER. We've been a little busy with football with kids and stuff, but we're getting back into it now.
There you go, Jen. Any parting words, anything to get off your chest before we call it a day?
I think I've put my foot in my mouth enough tonight. Or been enough of a jerk. But yeah, I don't know. The Georgia Tech stuff is amusing. The calling Miami and Notre Dame the toughest games on your schedule, just I mean, again, he was like, he thinks it's still the 90s or the 80s. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but that's fine. So I just enjoyed it. You guys, thank you so much. And always, please go back and rewatch the roast last night, because I could talk to Zach Smith for hours. And I haven't seen like a coach be that like forthcoming, or former coach. with the stories and everything. It's so fun. So please just give it a watch. Otherwise, we'll see you Friday.
Truly is. Get back there and check out the roast. Carrie Golnolls with a $19.99 super chat wishing us the happy 1-year anniversary for the Renegade Report Rundown. Thank you so much, Carrie. We appreciate you as always. Again, another one of the OG members of the channel coming through with the big time super chat. It's almost hard to close this thing off. We got money coming in, but yeah, man, I'm about wore out. We kept everybody plenty long. We'll see you guys Friday. Make sure you check out the roast. Check out Deshawn's channel. Make sure you drop in tomorrow for Wednesday's FSU Voice of College Football Live. That's going to be 6 Eastern over there on FSU Voice of College Football. And then we'll be back here Friday. The date today is just an FYI. Today is August the 13th, and the date to watch has been August 15th as far as FSU. They're going to announce exiting the ACC. The reporting as of late has been it's not looking good, but you never know. And then the next date after that is February 1st, 2025. So we'll keep you all up to date on that. And if anything changes, who knows? Maybe you get a surprise show in the middle of the week. But other than that, Wednesday, Voice of College Football. Friday, we'll see you at the Rundown. And right now, I'm going to drop you guys with the music for the Renegade Roast from our guy, the real Trub Life, FSU versus everybody. So get over there and check that out. We love you all. Go Noles.
Hey, man. FSU versus everybody. Let go. First off, fuck Bama in the road tide. Fuck Tuscaloosa in every city that's close by. Bitch ass hillbilly redneck fans. Auburn almost caught y'all slacking like dress pants. Michigan trash, they ain't got a damn chance. Only Wolverine I respect is X-Man. Sheen ass coach got exposed, still in plays. Damn right I'm bitter, y'all sweeter than lemonade. Texas ain't shit to rave about. The Longhorns only good at a steakhouse. Had y'all like number 3, I was like no way. Y'all lost to Oklahoma, which means y'all just okay. And Washington not important. Y'all be some ducks acting like that's vital as an organ. If we played y'all, we kick that ass Chuck Norris. Y'all stay boring. Only thing in that bitch is a forest. Let's set the record straight. Fuck your team if it ain't Florida State. 13-0, undefeated. Damn, what more it take? Denied our presence. That should be a crime. They jealous. Probably get in if the Gators wasn't violent. Miami better not say nada. Last time they won a championship,